Hello? What's up, everybody?
Howdy, howdy.
I was trying to bring my stream up over here, and my tablet's not working. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to week 6. Sorry, I just dropped a whole bunch of crap on the floor. The THF Extra Point episode 6, covering week 6 in the NFL. Okay, I'm situated now. I promise. Well, what a freaking week.
Where do we even start, to be honest?
Anywhere other than Dallas. Oh my god.
Anywhere other than fantasy football or Dallas.
I mean, look, let's just start at the beginning. There was a Thursday game. It was kind of a good game, was it not?
It was, yeah. It was actually pretty good.
San Francisco and Seattle duking it out.
An important divisional game.
Yeah, and it was back and forth for a little bit there before San Francisco kind of took charge. That was a good game.
Yeah, I really blame that one on Geno Smith, not going to lie. Cause
you do or you don't?
Obviously, for the goods and for the bads, because Geno Smith's actually playing really good that game, but it was those tiny mistakes, especially that one in the fourth quarter at the end where they could have caught back up and tied the game. And the game would have already been closer, really, from the beginning, but DK Metcalf's foot was just barely on the freaking line, like just barely. An inch away, and he would have had it in right there. So the game was pretty close. Seattle definitely is playing a bit better than I thought they would from the get-go. And wasn't that the game that Jordan Mason went out? So what's the deal with him?
I mean, I think he's fine, isn't he? I think it was just a minor thing.
Yeah, I didn't get an update on that. Did he go out for the whole game?
I think he was out for the rest of the game. Yeah, and they had
he went out and didn't come back in.
Yeah, the only thing I'm seeing about him right now is like headaches and shit like that. It doesn't look like it's anything serious.
Yeah, Ray, I'm not sure how to fix that because on my end it shows that it's live.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't see. Oh, I refreshed it and it works now. Okay.
There we go. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. They do happen in the streaming world, even in the podcast world, such as this. So bear with us. We'll make our way through it. Yeah, Jordan Mason. I've got him in one of my leagues too. So I should have known what was going on. Something else happened on Thursday. I don't think I watched a whole lot of that game. Was it the Stars played their first game of the season. That's why I was more into hockey that one that night than I was the NFL. Sorry, guys, I let the podcast down.
We'll say my friend Drew, who you actually went against this week in my sleeper league, felt pretty proud because he's kind of like a little brother to me. He lives in Canada, if y'all don't know, and he finally got into football this year, and so he's finally liking his first team. So he's a fan of Seattle now because he's closest to Seattle. So that was like his first game where he watched a team as a fan. So I was like, you know what? I don't mind you being a fan of Seattle. Hell yeah. So I was rooting for him on that game. Sadly, they lost, but he enjoyed it. So he's officially now a football fan. So
yeah,
cool.
There you go. Bring more people over to the sport. I mean, what's he going to do? Watch Canadian football?
Hell no.
Yeah.
Canadian football is very popular with their dozens of fans.
Dozens of fans, yeah. I wonder what gets better ratings, the CHL or the XFL, or what is it? The CFL? Yeah, CFL.
Yeah.
I don't know, to be honest.
I mean, there's definitely less people up there. So, but the question is, are there less people in Canada than there are people in the United States watching the XFL. So hard to say.
Oh, XFL's more popular. XFL's 2023 ratings average 627,000 viewers per game. The CFL's
How do you think there's
2023
that many people in
ratings.
Canada?
I know it said the CFL's 2023 ratings averaged 483,000 viewers.
Okay.
So about 200,000 or about 150,000 less.
Well, if they add XFL to Underdog Fantasy, then I might start watching it and go to the
Right.
games and stuff.
I didn't think that many people watched the XFL.
Doesn't Dallas have a team?
Yeah.
Well, they're Arlington now, or whatever.
okay.
Oh, did they move to
Weren't they pretty
Arlington?
good? I thought they were pretty
Yeah.
good.
They won the
Arlington
first
Renegades.
year.
Nice.
Yeah, we did.
The Arlington Renegades.
Yeah.
Yep.
They won the year right before they merged with the UFS or USFL.
Yeah, I have an OG Renegade shirt when it was still Dallas. So, like, from their first year. So, I have a little bit of their merch and stuff.
Yeah, so do I. But they changed it up to the Arlington Renegades.
I don't think we have a team regionally.
Yeah, we have 3
In my
Texas
area,
teams. We have the Brahmas,
kinda
the
crazy.
Roughnecks, and the Renegades. And
We have
there's
2 NFL teams also.
yeah.
We have
Well,
2 basketball teams.
I mean, the way the Cowboys have been playing,
3 basketball
they
teams.
really NFL, but
Look, we have a lot of college football teams and 1 good NFL football team.
Yeah. I mean, you guys do see the title of this episode, right? Cowboys embarrassed 27 other teams actually played football. So, yeah, because we had 4 teams on a bye this week, so only.
I'll tell you what, man. The Dallas Cowboys right now, I honestly feel like they might just be smelling burnt toast.
where do you guys want to start? Do you want to start with your absolute clown of an owner's meltdown? Or
I got something to start with. I freaking called it at the end of the podcast. I said the Cowboys
I
are
was
getting
I was
clapped.
in the same boat. I said
Yeah.
that they're
I'd say the best place I think that we can honestly probably start with for the Cowboys game is remember when they blew the final whistle and the game was over, guys? Cool. All right. Yeah, good talk, man. So next game. So, man. Right, they're just done with it.
I already knew like they were going to
The
get
best part of
clapped.
that game, the final whistle.
It wasn't even going to be close, and it was not close. And even though I said that, I still thought the Cowboys were going to at least put up over like 10 points or something
yeah.
like that. But
hey.
it was lower than I thought.
You
that
know
it was
what?
gonna be.
Your kicker is absolutely nails. The dude is incredible.
He's goated, man. He's the best player on the Cowboys, bro.
Yeah. He's the highest scoring person on the team right now.
Yeah.
He's the best kicker in the league. I mean,
It's not even close. Like,
Think about that in an honest way. Think about that. Brandon Aubrey has the most points scored for the Dallas Cowboys right now. Not Dak Prescott. Brandon Aubrey has the most points scored for us right now on the team.
Yeah.
That's nuts, dude.
You know,
they
it's
call
sad.
him Butter.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think through like 5 weeks, he was like he would have been like wide receiver 11 or something like that in the league.
Yep.
Like the dude is just nails.
On the entire season. That's why I keep taking him. I mean, I was like, I even made the joke not to be the wacko with the CeeDee Lamb picks on the underdogs, but dude, every single game this season, Brandon Aubrey's made at least 2 field goals. Every game. He has not kicked less than 2 field goals in a single game this season. And they have him at 1.5 field goals every single week.
And you can
It doesn't get much more short than that.
If you can find the line, like the longest field goal over 50 yards.
Oh
you should
yeah,
take that also.
take him exactly.
Like,
He kicks fucking 65-yard field goals like it's
I
nothing.
know with the fantasy apps you can generally only have one player in the same lineup, but if you want to spread it out a bit, that's not a bad idea either. And for someone like me who uses an actual sports book, that's an easy leg to put in the parlay.
Oh yeah.
Like Brandon Aubrey over 1.5 field goals, and then longest field goal over 50.5, for example.
Yep.
Nails. Easy money.
Yep. 100%.
It's the same as Derrick Henry anytime touchdown. Like
Exactly.
you might as well just put it in every parlay you run.
It's like taking CMC last season on the anytime touchdown. He had 9 weeks in a row or some shit like that where he scored a touchdown.
You're gonna win more
Derrick
than you're
Henry's
gonna
on
lose.
pace for 22 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's wild. There's 17 games.
That's fucking ridiculous,
So
man.
we'll talk about him in betting because I have a very interesting. Well, it's not that interesting, but it's
Dude, Derrick
interesting
Henry.
compared to other betting trends to
Yeah.
talk about. So
It is. That's why, Brandon Aubrey, man, to stay on the Cowboys for a minute. Not that I want to, but before to move on to other teams, Brandon Aubrey, I feel like, is the only person if you're taking a sports betting on the Cowboys that you can honestly take over, except maybe Dak on passing yards. Every game, Dak is going to toss that thing so much out. But this last game,
if you really want to jock up your money, if you really want to get your money's worth, take the over in Dak Prescott passing yards second half.
Yeah,
because he always turns it on when you guys are down 28 points.
Exactly.
I don't know what the deal is, but
I feel like Ferguson's pretty consistent too. He's pretty consistent on receptions. Like he gets like 6 or 7 every game.
Yards, he's not great at. Receptions, yes.
As a CD owner and a Dak Prescott owner in a couple leagues, the Cowboys those are supposed to be the two studs, and they're highly underperforming.
$400 million between the two of them.
They performed very well first half together.
Yeah. No, I mean, you look at the whole body of work. I mean,
overall, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they'll go out every game in first half. It'll be CeeDee Lamb 70 yards, no touchdowns. First half, looking great. He makes great catches. Then the entire second half, it'll be like 2 targets, 1 catch for 5 yards, and then that kills the stats. Yeah. So at the end of the game, he has 75 yards. Yeah, he was on pace to get 140 yards.
Yep.
He ends the game with like 75. Come on.
He's easily one of the top 5 wide receivers in the league, and he has yet to record a 100-yard game. Like that's the story of the Cowboys right there in a nutshell. Like your number 1 wide receiver has not even had a 100-yard game. Like
exactly.
And he's
or a touchdown.
I think the closest he got was like 80-something yards. I don't think he's even cracked 90. But if it was low 90s. Like, and it was only once.
Yeah, against like the Giants. The CD.
Yeah, I think that might have been his best game. Yeah, it was the one because we had him. I had him in 3 straight parlays. 2 of them we got the benefit of the half yard bonus. The second one he didn't need it. He only needed
like a half yarder.
Yeah, that was so. Whoever he played that week was the one that he got. It was his best game of the week. I can't remember. I think that might have been against the Giants, but last year against and look, you can go back to last week. I said I got Dak going over on yards. I wanted to pick CD too, and I put my thumbs up on both of them because last year Dak threw for like 400 yards and CeeDee Lamb had 220 yards in the game against Detroit.
I thought it was going to be a slugfest.
Yeah, I thought
I didn't think we were going to win easily. I thought we would win, but I thought it would be a slugfest. 40-38 or some shit like that. I
thought the Cowboys
49 to this shit, dude. Like, no way.
They were Detroit ladders to their offensive linemen at some point. They had linemen lining up as wide receivers. Like they were literally it was like garbage time.
Yep.
High school game.
So, by the way,
they were running their gadget plays and trying stuff out. They even Dan Campbell even said it at one point that he was gonna run some run some plays and stuff and get to some things that they hadn't been able to use yet this year and see how it goes. And he even said it in one of the like commercial breaks to one of the sideline reporters. Like, yeah, it was a practice drill for them. By the end of the game,
so, just real fast,
embarrassing.
I want to point out that while I was watching the game, I missed any of the ones that happened in like the first 10 minutes or so of the game. So there could be more, but there was 9 times in that game that the announcers, Tom Brady or the other dude, said wide open for their receivers making catches. Not that was a good catch. That was 9 times in that game, not including the first 10 minutes, first quarter, that the wide receivers were said that dude was wide open on that catch. Yeah. Wide open. What was our defense doing that game? The entire game, dude. Every time they would literally make a catch and there wouldn't be anybody within 10 yards. Wide open. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. It really was.
So I started keeping track of it because I remember I was like, dude, that's like the 3rd time I've heard it. So I wrote the number down, and then Tom Brady came up. That dude was wide open 4th, 5th, 6th, 9 freaking times before that game was over.
Turn it into a drinking game.
Exactly, man.
And you really can't even blame it on injuries. Like I'd love to say, point out to this key player and this key player. You know what? But that's the NFL. Every team does it. LA was able to beat San Francisco with a slew of injuries. You got teams doing it week in and week out. Next guy up, and good teams find a way to at least be competitive.
Yep.
You can't. And most
Look
of
at
the
Jordan
key
Mason.
injuries on Dallas are on the defense. So
Right, well,
okay, all right, you gave up a bunch of points, but why didn't you score any?
Well, that's what it comes down to is the defense being banged up is absolutely an excuse, but where was the offense?
Yep.
Right.
And
Exactly.
again, we're going to keep until the markets reset again. Maybe by the trade deadline or at the end of the year. Dak and CD are two of the top highest paid players in history. There's $400 million between them.
Yep.
And Brandon Aubrey was the sole scorer.
$100 million this year.
Yeah, it's wild. You get to a point where, what are you doing? And that kind of leads us into the next topic on the Cowboys. Is what is Jerry Jones's deal?
Yeah.
Just to go on with that last thing you said real fast, because I do want to move on from that too. But that right there is one of the reasons why I think our defense looks so shitty right now. Is because when our offense goes out there, 3-and-out punt, when our defense just had to be on the field for 5 to 10 minutes, and then our offense goes out there, 3-and-out punt, defense is back out there for 5 or 10 minutes, 3-and-out punt, our defense is back out there again for 5 minutes, 3-and-out punt, our defense doesn't get a rest. So by the third, fourth quarter, they are defeated, dude. They are so tired.
And the downfalls of the defense are actually the downfall, but the setback, the step back that the defense took this season with these injuries is reflecting how poor the offense has been. It's kind of the inverse of the Patriots last year. Last year, for example, the Patriots defense was top 5, but their offense was worse in the league. They were setting records for losing games where they would let up less than 10 points to still lose the game. Yep. It's kind of the inverse here, where the defense isn't doing well, but that was able to be masked prior because the offense was good. The offense was able to put up so many points. It's way easier for the defense to let something through and not have it hurt the team if the offense is putting up 21 points at a time.
If you let in 3 points every drive, that's fine, as long as our offense is going out there and putting up 7 points every drive.
Right.
And this is exactly what happened to the Cowboys at the end of last year in that Green Bay game. The defense was exposed, and the offense wasn't doing its job in keeping up and giving the defense a rest, and so they'd go right back out there and let them march down the field over and over and over again.
This feels like it's been this way since that Green Bay game.
Yep.
They fell apart at home, and they have not been able to figure it out since.
Yeah, home used to be like
a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, it was Cowboys playing at home. Yeah, take them, because
remember last season going into that Green Bay game, we were undefeated at home that season.
Yeah,
we were putting up 40 points a game and hadn't lost a game all season. And we fucking lost that.
So we're all in this year, baby. Let's go.
Speaking of, moving on to good old crazy ranting Jerry.
Let me set the table for this one.
Sure.
For those that don't know,
I actually sat down and watched the entire 20 minutes of this conversation. But Jerry Jones has a spot on a local radio station. They're the official home of the Dallas Cowboys on radio. 105.3 The Fan, and Jerry has a regular Tuesday morning show with these guys, and a lot of times this radio station takes some flack for being a little too Cowboys friendly. Obviously, they push back on that because they make examples of questions that they've asked, hard questions in the past, but sometimes it's a little bit of a fluff piece. Because they are the home of the official home of the Dallas Cowboys, but yeah, they pushed into Jerry today. They pushed into Jerry, and Jerry was in no mood for it. To the point where he threatened their jobs.
They weren't even mean about it either.
Their jobs.
They really were.
they just kind of were like, hey, and one of the guys even said like, we aren't trying to like, bash you or anything. We're just, trying to get some answers because this is just in our off season, just some weeks back. So this has to do with our season. So, and then he starts going off about, oh no, like you guys, I'll just go to a different podcast or whatever, ask them, questions and stuff like that. If you guys are going to talk to me.
So if I'm not mistaken, they're an Odyssey station, but I believe aren't they owned or subsidized by the Cowboys?
They might be. I don't know.
Well, they have a deal. They have a deal with the Cowboys. And I don't know. I don't know exactly how it all ties together, but yeah, that's part of. There's some whatever the deal is kind of why they've gotten the reputation of being Cowboys friendly, because they're dependent on that deal, I guess, in some way, form, or fashion. I don't know exactly. I don't want to speak too much on it because I really don't know the facts there.
It's like if you're Jerry and you haven't seen success in so long and your team keeps losing in the playoffs over and over again, the absolute best thing you can do is take ownership for it and say that you're going to change and do something different next year, not just avoid all questions, get mad back, and just be like, nope, it's, whatever. Like,
I mean, I just don't think there's anything he can say to it. He knows there's nothing he can say to it. He fucking went out there and he made a kind of an ass of himself. Everybody's already for many years not really agreed with Jerry Jones or thought he's been a very great owner of the Cowboys.
Or general manager.
Yeah, or fucking coach, head coach, quarterback coach,
clear.
running
Jerry
back
Jones
coach.
is the best is the best owner in the league. He's the worst GM.
he tries to do everything and he wants to put his foot in everything, and he has for a lot of years. And all the head coaches that have left before McCarthy have made comments about how he does that. And I don't know, he kind of made an ass of himself, because if you're going to put yourself that much in everything and then make comments like he did in the offseason and
not want to change any players or do anything different,
fall apart and do nothing about it,
exactly.
and literally do nothing at all. So what the only signing that we did was fucking Kendricks, the like 36-year-old
linebacker. Is just all right. I was wrong. We should have picked up players. Should have done this, blah blah blah, and then we're going to try and fix it for the rest of the season.
He doubled down though. Instead,
there's more to it than that. So I listen to basically exclusively sports talk, because I'm an old man and I have nothing better to do on I work on the road. I'm a visiting nurse.
This is our drama TV for guys, all right?
I listen to sports talk probably.
You don't have to defend yourself, dude. I watch like 18 fucking sports talk shows like that.
5-6 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they were each show was playing this clip and talking about it. And it's really interesting because Jerry's on the show talking about, when they ask a question and he says, that's not your job. That's the thing, is it is their job.
It is their job.
It is their job to ask these questions. It's your job to not only answer these questions, but answer for the decisions you made.
Yeah.
Around here it's Robert Kraft. I can't ever see Robert, given his history aside, I could never see him answering a question like that.
He made a bigger ass of himself than he already did.
That's an interesting.
Really,
hang on, let me ask this question real quick. I'm just curious. As high profile as Robert Kraft is as an owner, like everybody knows who. Does he do like local radio spots? Does he do interviews like this? Like,
not anymore. He appears on national podcasts every now and then, very rarely. But he's generally pretty vocal. But he's not outspoken like Jerry is by any means.
He mainly just sticks to his macaroni and cheese.
He'll give you a soundbite every now and then, but it's not to the level of controversy like Jerry does routinely. And that's par for the course. I mean, we talk about the size and the reach of the Dallas franchise. Jerry has he's one of if not the most influential owners in the group. But that leads me to another thought on this whole thing. What does he have? What does he gain from taking it out? I get he's frustrated. I would be too. What does he gain from taking it out on these radio radio show host.
I'm going to guess that beside the fact, like I said, he just doubled down on making himself look like an asshole. He made himself look like
threatening their jobs. Like
I'm making these comments in the offseason, and then he made himself an asshole again by doubling down and looking like an asshole. But honestly, I think what it was is that in the last 2 or 3 weeks now, we've been hearing a lot of flack on the Cowboys. We've been hearing a lot of shit talk on Jerry, a lot of shit talk on Dak, a lot of shit talk on our defense. And I feel like Jerry might have just finally, he's a human, and he might have just hit that point. He probably came on there expecting a nice, easy podcast where they were going to toss
it's okay, Jerry. It's all good.
Exactly. He was just, man, I've been getting shit on all week, dude. This is going to be so great to sit around and get some easy questions about how good I am. And then they start shitting on him too. And he probably was just like, you know what? This isn't y'all's fucking job. And he snapped. And he made
that's another thing. Do we think he's serious when he's saying, "Oh, if you guys are gonna be like this, I'll find somebody else"?
Oh no.
Does that mean he's the type of guy who just wants a yes man around?
No, I mean, I think that is
I feel
true.
like
I don't
he does
think he
like that, but he also was probably mad in the moment, because this is fresh off everyone's mind right now.
The only example I can think of, this happened maybe 2 seasons ago. It was either in New York regional or I feel like Green Bay. I don't know the show or the host or the coach off the top of my head, but it was a weekly segment with the head coach calling in. And basically they led up to it. They had one of the co-hosts read this like scathing, absolutely terrible scathing critique out of like an opinion column directly to this coach to start off the show. And the coach is like, I don't appreciate that. Maybe I shouldn't even be on this call. And they ended up hanging up. And that's the only thing I can think of where it was similar to this situation. But in that case, the coach is right. In this case, Jerry just seemed
he just made himself look like more of an asshole.
Because they weren't mean about it. They weren't being a dick or anything.
They were doing their jobs. They were doing.
Well, and a lot of people probably only heard the clip, whereas I went back and I'll actually upload the link in the. Actually, I already uploaded the link in the Discord. But you could watch the entire 23-minute call with the guys, and Jerry kind of came in with an attitude.
I don't blame him.
They said something at one point about all in pretty early on in the conversation, and that's a trigger word for Jerry right now, because he did stick his foot in his mouth. And here's where the problem lies with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones has said for as long as he's owned the team, the buck stops here. Every decision that's made runs through him or is approved by him, by the people that make the decision. Like this is where everything Cowboys is decided is on Jerry Jones's desk. But when you press him and you talk about the problems with the Cowboys, he wants to deflect. He doesn't want to talk about the preseason, the offseason, and everything leading up to this. He wants to say, I was disgusted with Sunday, but I'm looking ahead towards San Francisco in 2 weeks. He doesn't want to talk about it anymore because then he's got to take credit. He's got to answer for it, and he's not going to answer for the bad.
He doesn't want to take accountability.
Yeah, and he flipped it on the host. He flipped it. He kept saying, "You guys are trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater." Of course, he messed up that phrase because Jerry's Arkansas, his sayings are just so goofy. But he said it multiple times. You guys are trying to get me to talk about all the bad stuff. Y'all aren't going to give me any credit for the good stuff. And it's like, wait. No, right now there's nothing good to talk about. Like, come on.
What are we supposed to talk about? It's good.
Before we get to like we move on to a different game, let me just say I kind of think this. I wanted to say this as a bit of a joke. I was thinking about this yesterday, but the longer in the day, I kind of honestly feel like this is really a true thing. What do y'all think the over under is on Mike McCarthy losing his job mid-season if our upcoming games after the bye week, if we lose like 4 in a row? So we have some hard games coming up.
It's possible for us to go 3-8 this season.
That's
it's definitely possible.
What happens if after our bye week we come back and we lose 4 games in a row? What do you think the over under is on Mike McCarthy getting fired midseason?
I don't know.
So-
We all know how Jerry is. He doesn't want to fire anyone. He wants to keep all the same people for a really long time. So it's hard to really say.
Mike McCarthy's already dead man walking. He's in the last year of his contract. They didn't give him. He was set up for failure. So there's no point in firing him, like, because he doesn't have anything left after this year anyway. He's just not coming back.
That's what I'm saying. What about firing him mid-season if they already know he's not going to come back and just starting our coach now?
Because
I'll
because
tell you exactly why, but
nobody's going to come in and no new coach is going to come in and take over this team the way it is right now.
Bill Belichick will come in here and take it.
Yeah. So
next year.
But yeah, Belichick.
He's not going to step into a losing situation.
If they fire McCarthy mid-season, or if he resigns, because at some point he might just get sick of Jerry. But if they fire him mid-season, you got the Dallas will have an interim head coach until throughout the end of the season.
Yeah,
because
that guy won't be the new head coach.
Because the only remaining landing spot for Bill Belichick to come back into the league is Dallas right now. Similar, another situation in your division is Philadelphia. Sirianni's gone at the end of the season if he survives the season, but the last questionable spot for Bill to end up was New York with the Jets.
Didn't he turn them down? He kind of said
well,
no.
he didn't exactly turn them down, but he made some pretty stark comments about it.
Yeah.
And but I have a source in the industry. They don't share too many absolutes, but the two spots that Belichick was really looking at after getting turned down by Atlanta, Dallas and New Orleans. New Orleans isn't really in a spot to isn't really in a spot to have a rebuild like that, because Belichick he only wants a couple years. If you really think about it, he wants to go after the Schuler record. He really wants to make a playoff run, maybe get another Super Bowl, just to kind of get the Brady.
That's why I really wanted to see him at the Cowboys, man. Let Jerry just finally back off and have Belichick take over here.
There's one team. There's really one team where he'll be able to do that, and it's Dallas, because they have the personnel in place. They have an excellent offense. He's a defensive mind, where McCarthy is more of an offensive mind. They really need that right now. They win a ton of games in the regular season. He'll be able to get his record. And despite Jerry being Jerry, there isn't an established general manager in place, which means Bill could take on a lot of that responsibility.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd get the title necessarily. I mean,
he might not need it.
He might not need it. Jerry might give him free reign and behind the scenes.
I think behind the
make
scenes,
a lot of those
Bill
moves.
could tell him that, like, hey, look, bro, Jerry, I'm gonna be straight up with you. You give me full reign to do what I need to do. I'll bring you a Super Bowl, but just don't ask about the cheating. And I think you back off. Let Bill Belichick do what he has to do. Dude, as the Cowboys fan, I swear to God, man, if Bill Belichick is our head coach next season, you will never hear me complain about Bill Belichick cheating again. He's going to be the best coach in the world. He's a saint. He does not cheat. What are you guys talking about? The Cowboys won that Super Bowl.
Well, you guys are projecting. You're mad.
Dak Prescott's been throwing balls since he was in Pee Wee. He knew those balls were perfectly inflated. Okay, there's no deflating with Dak Prescott.
To quote you from a Brady argument a couple years ago, some teams are above cheating, and that's going to be the Cowboys with Belichick.
Oh hell no, it ain't.
But if I had to,
it's like 20-something years since we've won 2 playoff games in a row. Yeah. We ain't gonna be above cheating, dude.
If I had to bet money right now on the next head coach of the Cowboys, I would not bet any. If it was Belichick versus the field, I'm betting Belichick. Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
on the other side of that coin, if we're looking at Philadelphia, when Sirianni gets canned, I believe Mike Vrabel is going there. And the reason I believe that is that offense is set up for someone like him. He's a brilliant mind. He has a defensive background, but he's a really good offensive coach. And he was supposed to be the coach of the Patriots. He parted ways with Tennessee with the anticipation of because everyone knew Belichick Belichick was getting fired at the end of last season from the Patriots. But the way Jerod Mayo's contract was written as an assistant coach, and because he didn't end up getting the Houston job, because Kraft worded it as a mutual parting of ways, and Belichick didn't get fired or Belichick didn't retire, like actually, because there was a mutual parting of ways, that triggered Jerod Mayo's contract into making him the head coach. The way it was written up on his last extension. So that kind of threw the Mike Vrabel thing to the wolves. It was gone. But for that reason, Vrabel didn't take one of these other coaching jobs. That's why he's consulting for the Browns. He's just basically sitting in a booth waiting for somebody like Philadelphia to open up. I think Jerod Mayo is sticking around in New England for a few seasons, so we really won't see Vrabel here. But if I had to guess, Belichick's going to Dallas, Vrabel's going to Philadelphia. The rest is really a crapshoot. I think the Giants are going to be looking for a coach. I think the Jets are still looking for a coach. You have a couple other teams that are sort of falling apart that they may be looking for coaches too.
Well, in Jersey, Aaron Rodgers is looking for a coach.
Yeah,
they're going to let him pick. Because he's picking all the other personnel.
It's falling apart in Vegas.
I already saw that picture of Adams hanging out with Rodgers already, just hanging out. Just
they were on that Pat McAfee show that Rodgers is on every week.
I don't remember if it was you, Wacko, or you, Janine, that posted that picture in the Discord where it was from the Eric Andre show. And it said the Jet season, and Rodgers was shooting it. And then right below it, it said, "Look what he did." When I talk about the head coach, look what he just did.
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? That was so funny, dude.
Yeah.
Rodgers just blew the season up. He's like, "Why would you do that?"
Like, why would Robert Saleh do this?
Even though the Cowboys have also been the brunt of the joke, there's been some great NFL memes this year from a lot of different places. Unfortunately, Dallas has been one of them. But yeah, the Jets are.
I needed to post in the Discord. It was a picture of anybody that used to watch Pokemon, the Ditto, the little purple blob looking thing. Yep. So it was a picture of a Ditto that had been beaten. So it was like smashed down, just looked like a little puddle. And it said new X-rays of Tua's brain. Yeah. Some puddling on the ground. New X-rays.
So I know we have a lot of games to talk about, but I want to clear the air on something. I think after they barely squeaked out a win over the Giants, I made a comment that the Cowboys are ass. Given the current situation, their state as of right now, are they ass?
Oh, right now, I've already said they weren't that good this season. I said that earlier in the season. I'm drunk in the juice, and I'm saying they're going to go to the playoffs because I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm going to root for them, but no, I don't think.
Been talking about it all season long. Now the Cowboys aren't good, and obviously they have the potential to be mediocre, but once I saw the Dak money and all that type of stuff, I just knew we're going to stick with the same players, and we didn't get Henry when we could have, and I think all the excuses are BS about that. We should have Henry this season.
$5 million.
I know that the defensive
considering he has more rushing yards than the entire running back room in Dallas.
Yep. Oh yeah, easy.
It would have just cost us $5 million more.
Not even close.
Basically,
that's free, and there was even people like Kareem Hunt. I mean, you could debate if that's a good pickup or not. I feel like I would rather have Kareem than Elliott.
10 starting running backs that were badass that we could have picked up in this offseason. 10.
Because I don't feel like it's an excuse like, oh, we just don't have Brandon Cook on offense and some of our O-line, whatever. Like, no, we still got CeeDee Lamb. Honestly, that's all we freaking need, but we still got CeeDee Lamb and Turpin and all those other guys. Like, we should be able to get the ball moving on offense. So I'm not going to keep talking about Dallas all day, but that's my input on that part.
Before we switch, I think the best analogy for Dallas is like one of those like old badass like 1967 Mustangs that you get, and you're just like, oh, dude, this is so beautiful, it's perfect, people are gonna love it, and then every 5 minutes something breaks on it, and it won't start, and it starts leaking oil, and you're throwing all this money into it, and it just doesn't start. It's so beautiful though; it should be the best car on the street. But it breaks down every 5 minutes, and it runs through gas, and it keeps getting flats, and I feel like that's the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, the in their current situation, the way the Dak and CD are off sync completely. There is no running game, and that's not going to fix itself. They're just not all of a sudden going to find a running game.
Where's our West Coast offense from last year? We ran a West Coast offense last year. We put up 40 points a game. Dak isn't even scrambling.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
And we're just running a normal offense now.
And clearly, with the offense not moving, no, Kendricks isn't the answer on the defense. Is solving their inability to stop the run.
He's our all in though. What are you talking about?
There's he's
the only player we get. He's our all in.
I expect them to be better in about 4 or 5 weeks once people start coming back off of some of these injuries. But they're not as good as they were last year for sure.
Not even close.
Yeah, they're not even close, and they're even when the injuries, like I said, with the injuries, once that's over, I expect them to get a little bit better in places, but they still are one-dimensional on offense. They're the best offensive player right now is a kicker, and like that, they're ass pretty much like right now, right here.
Chat clip that.
And the only hope that they have is that San Francisco's just not all the way back yet, and they got 2 weeks to scheme against them, and then Philadelphia, who is also ass. So other than that, it's very possible they lose the next 5 in a row, and that's me being super hopeful.
Yep.
That's me being super hopeful, and I hate to admit that because I was hoping.
I mean, Washington is they're the team to beat in the division right now.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, Washington's going to win.
Never would have thought. I did not in a million years think I'd be saying that.
Okay, so to move on then to the next game, because we've been the 40-minute long Cowboy
hands down, the best game of the season so far.
So some quick numbers for Washington right now. Okay, who would have thought these numbers for Washington? I had to write this shit down. Washington right now is not only the 4th best overall offense in the NFL, just by yards. They're tied right now for the number 1 offense in the NFL for scoring at 178 points. It's the Buccaneers and Washington both at 178 points. They're tied for the 3rd most right now, or they're tied for the most 3rd down conversions in the NFL with the Ravens at 35. And they're tied for 2nd on 4th down conversions. So right now, the Washington Redskins are number 1 offense in the NFL for points, 4th in the NFL for yards, 2nd in the NFL for 4th down conversions, 1st in the NFL for 3rd down conversions. Like, the Redskins are killing it on all aspects of the offense. They're putting up points, they're putting up yards. They're
they're the Commanders now, right?
You're gonna cancel.
I keep saying you're gonna get canceled. Hey, to be fair, there's a big petition. There's a big petition that I actually am kind of a fan for, that they're trying to get it switched back to the Redskins, because the Redskins, the whole thing about, not to get into all that, this has already been talked about, but the whole thing about the Redskins, that was actually named after a person, like an actual person from history that was honoring that guy. It wasn't like it was just some thing. But anyway, the Commanders are killing it. The Commanders are one of the best offenses in the NFL on all aspects. They're not just good at rushing or good at passing, or they're good at everything. They're good at conversions, yards, touchdowns, points, everything.
It's true. I mean, it's night and day. And if remind me, because I'll admit I didn't watch the whole video. Did any of the streamer, the Twitch streamer, hot takes have the Commanders being good? Did anybody even remotely mention Commanders being good?
No, I don't recall.
Yeah.
I have to go back.
I don't think anybody picked that.
Nope.
Yeah,
and not for nothing, the Giants are trending upwards too. That it seems like Dallas and Philly are both trending downward, while Washington and the Giants are trending upward.
For the last 3 or 4 years, the Cowboys and Philly have been
right
leading the NFL all over every single season, in the playoffs everywhere, and the Giants and the Redskins have been nothing. And this season, Danny Dimes and Jane Daniels are fucking taking over.
Now, I think the Giants are bad, and they're going to remain bad. They're not going to be a playoff team by any means, but I don't think they're going to be last in the division. I think it's going to come down to Philly or, unfortunately, Dallas at this point.
I hate to say it, but I think it's going to be Washington, the Giants, then Cowboys, then the Eagles at the bottom. I think that's what it's going to end up being at the end of the season. If we keep playing, if we step it up, next week could be completely different, dude. Well, it's a bye week, so I'm not going to change my mind. We could always turn it around. The Cowboys are that team, dude, where we can put up 30 fucking points in a quarter. We are the hottest offense in the NFL for a long time, and we didn't really do anything to change our offense. I mean,
look, you know me as the outnumbered the non-Cowboys fan in this group. I am the biggest critic of the team, but I am the first to admit when they do something well. Mm-hmm. But I also recognize the history of it, where they have a stellar regular season and they fall apart in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I'll come back if they come back off the bye and they go on a run. I will continue that. I will turn around and say, hey, they're figuring it out. They're still going to choke in the playoffs, but at least they're figuring out the regular season. They're not going to be last in their division.
Yeah, and again, to be fair, let's not forget that you got to have your weapons. You know, you don't just go out there and dominate good defenses when you've got a bunch of wide receiver 3s and 4s. So I mean,
at least for the Cowboys, who are we missing?
Cooks has got to get back on the field.
Yeah, where has Cooks been? He was my back pocket.
And I do agree with that, but Cooks was never. Yeah, he got touchdowns to do it. He was never like 80, 90 yards a game or anything. He'd be like 40, 50 yards on a touchdown.
That's looking at it from a fantasy perspective. He was never meant to be the 80, 90 yard guy.
He stretches the field for CeeDee Lamb.
I agree. Right. But that's right now. That's what Turpin's doing. And that's what Devante Turpin or Tolbert. That's what Tolbert's doing. Yeah, so I mean that's why I don't know. I thought most of our offense was there.
If Tolbert and were able to do it, then we wouldn't need Cooks on the team.
Okay, but if our offense is this bad just because Cooks isn't there, we had our running backs, we had our quarterbacks, we had our tight ends, we had our first string and third string wide receivers and everybody else. We had our offensive line. We had everybody. If our offense is this horrible because we're missing Brandon Cooks, that says something in itself right there.
No, that's part two
of the problem.
Part one of it is the no running game.
That too, but
that's really the biggest thing.
There's no
running game to set the table.
Well, and that's because we got so used to not using our running backs because we ran West Coast, and that's what West Coast is. The quarterback runs, not running backs. That's why Tony Pollard sucked last year because he was on a West Coast offense. Dak was running it; he scrambled. But this season, Dak's not scrambling it, and we're still like calling West Coast plays. So we're not really running it like we should be because we're running a West Coast offense without a quarterback who scrambles. So we just don't have any running game now. We have no running back and no quarterback running game.
Nothing. But let's not get sucked back into the Cowboys.
Yeah, we're on 48 minutes and we've talked mostly Cowboys.
Yeah,
I think we talked Cowboys for like 47 minutes of those.
We gotta tip our hats to the high scoring game of the week. That Tampa Bay game was Tampa Bay and New Orleans game was insane.
Tampa Bay and Orlando, I told you they're going to be fighting. Dude, I didn't call it being that big, but I called it last week. That rivalry game, I was like, dude, that's going to be a game to watch.
Yeah, look, I have been touting the Bucks forever now, and Baker Mayfield is legit. They have something really good going down there. They are going to be a threat down the
I don't know why people always sleep on Mike Evans. Like he's not one of the best wide receivers in the league.
Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin is wide receiver 1 right now.
And now you have Chris Godwin stepping up at the same time, and now their backup running backs are just being absurd, and it's like, man, the Bucs offense just looks so good right now.
And not for nothing, their defense is really good. I'm running two. I'm running the Bucks defense. I'm swapping. I'm streaming the Bucks or the Patriots for defense in our league. But my IDP, I'm swapping out between two Bucks players because they're two of the best in the league.
Mm-hmm.
They really are. Everyone talks about, everyone's been talking about the Chicago defense and the Steelers defense, and all these top scoring defenses. The Bucks are nothing to sleep on. They're a tough defense. They're really good.
Yeah.
And they're the team overall. They're because of the division. Nobody really thinks about them, but they are going to be, especially with a bunch of these other teams in the NFC that can't quite figure it out. The Seahawks don't know who they are. The 49ers still aren't themselves. Obviously the Cowboys and the Eagles aren't great.
Yeah.
Atlanta is up and down. New Orleans is plummeting down to earth. The NFC is wide open, and it seems like Tampa is the only team that's maintaining course. One of the only teams that maintain course, at least.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta and Tampa Bay are both 4-2. I think Atlanta's had. They only had the one really bad game, I think.
Yeah. And they should have won against Kansas City, but that god awful fucking no call pass interference absolutely flipped it. But what do I know?
But going from one of the worst teams in the NFL schedule wise, or standings wise last year, they're going to have they're going to have that Eagles effect that I said a couple years ago. The Eagles were doing great, and everybody was like, "Oh wow, they're the team to beat. They're the team to beat." And I was like, "Guys, look at their schedule. They're not that good."
Right.
And it took a little bit for them to finally crash and burn, but they did. Last year. And so I wonder, I don't have it right up in front of me, but I wonder how much Atlanta is actually benefiting from the schedule that they have, whereas Tampa Bay won that division last year. And so, you got to think that at least overall, when the schedule's said and done, they would have had the tougher strength of schedule. And Atlanta's probably got a little bit of an easier road.
Yeah, and I mean, Tampa has a couple definitive victories. Obviously, this absolute beatdown of the Saints, who the Saints are kind of in a tailspin anyway. But
yeah, and give credit to the Saints too. That was a pretty good game from them.
Yeah, they had a good game, but
it was a hard ass game.
Didn't take it off the gas. But we talked pretty heavily about the Tampa Detroit game, where Tampa won by a touchdown, and a lot of people thought it was an upset, where I didn't really see it that way. If Baker Mayfield did, they're matched up very well against these teams. I want to see them play. I don't even know if Tampa plays the Vikings this year. I want to see them play the Vikings.
I would love to see that, man. The Vikings have such a good defense.
It's definitely an interesting season for sure.
That's actually getting ahead, but next week, speaking of the Vikings,
really
it's Detroit versus the Vikings this week.
Yeah, it's a good game.
That's gonna be great.
Lions Vikes, yeah, that's gonna be it. But I don't want to get too far ahead because there are still a couple other games that we needed to touch on. I think. Let's see. Obviously, Cincinnati over the Giants. I didn't even bother watching that because that was kind of I couldn't believe that there was as many people in our pick'ems, which I haven't even brought up yet, and I'll do that now. But I couldn't believe so many people actually picked the Giants in that game in our pick'ems. I was very surprised by that one. And Dabs isn't here to defend himself, but Navy, you were right there with him. Why did you think the Giants were going to take that game?
I mean,
I think the Bengals have it bad. Next question.
That's not my job to ask you questions like that.
Listen, that's not your fucking job to ask me.
Listen, we're gonna.
You're gonna get fired for this.
He'll find somebody else to ask these questions.
If this is the type of situation that I'm
we need to be talking about next week right now. What's going on next week?
Yeah, then I don't know if I'm gonna have to be here next week. Okay, this isn't the situation we agreed to.
I'll just go to a different podcast.
I'll go to a different
about
podcast
next week and not this week.
Yeah.
I actually, man, I was surprised. I got a fairly good amount right this week, and one of the ones I was more confident on, and I thought I actually had. I think I even last week said it was one of the games to watch this week was the New York Giants one. I really, really thought that the New York Giants were going to take Cincinnati. Cincinnati hadn't been looking great; they'd been looking better.
I mean, even after the game,
I said it last week. I said they were back. Even though they lost last week, I said they were back.
Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is that Burrow and Chase are top of their category respectively for players in fantasy. At least they're doing really well, but
I'm telling you,
is not.
I know they lost last week, but I told you guys they were back.
No, so that's why I figured in that game, Danny Dimes had been looking fantastic. They were going to come out there, I assumed, looking good.
They've been trending upwards.
And and they've been trending up. And Cincinnati's been looking. They're trending up, but not. They're kind of like the Cowboys before the Detroit game, where I said the Cowboys were looking good. They were looking better.
He struggles against better defenses or high pressure situations where he's got like 3 wide receivers wide open and then he throws it in a fucking triple coverage when he just needs to take the sack. And that's something where Malik Neighbors actually being there would have really benefited them that game, and maybe they would have won, because even when Malik Neighbors is in bad situations, he'll probably catch the ball. And if Malik Neighbors isn't there, it's probably just going to be a pick. So it's kind of his dump off. And if he doesn't have that, he doesn't just throw out the ball sometimes or take the sack. He just throws it, and then he just gets picked. So.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to win.
That Neighbors is the main reason why that team has clicked on the games that they've clicked. Without him,
pretty good.
Now, we'll say Tyrone Tracy is that fucking guy, man. Tyrone Tracy is so
double digits like every fucking game for me.
They need to start him. I don't care about Singletary. He's back up now. Tyrone Tracy is him. Need to play him, and obviously, I know they didn't win. Daniel Jones looked crap last week, but I still am giving him credits because he's been playing better, and he's making Giants wide receivers actually produce for fantasy football. It's like, what the heck? Darius Slayton all of a sudden is relevant as a flex option in fantasy? What the hell is going on? They have a wide receiver 1 in fantasy, so it's kind of crazy, but yeah.
I can't roast anybody for taking Jacksonville because in the Jacksonville-Chicago, because that was a London game, and Jacksonville is pretty much invincible in London usually. So I can't fault anybody for buying into Jacksonville being in London, but Chicago whooped up on them pretty good in that game.
It was good to see that.
Yeah, Chicago's got some momentum going in the right direction for sure.
I hate that I was so right about Chicago. I said preseason Chicago was not going to look good. They would probably maybe make it to the playoffs and lose first round. That Caleb Williams is going to be a fantastic quarterback next year. That he is going to look really good in his future.
I think Caleb Williams is the most overhyped player in history.
Oh, same. I do not think it's going to. But what I do think, though, after watching that game in Jacksonville, is that I think I was wrong time-wise. I think Caleb Williams might be stepping it up faster than I think they might actually win maybe one playoff game.
We'll say on your
I don't think they'll win any more than that, though.
On your tier list, the 4th and 5th worst teams in the entire NFL, you put as the Bears and the Vikings.
And remember, though, to be fair, the reason why I did that, the Vikings, yeah, sure, I called it wrong, but the Bears, it was, remember Wacko had those 2 other columns, and it was like the young teams or something like that, whatever they were.
Yeah.
And I did not feel like remaking my stuff, so I just grabbed them and stuck them into the bottom thing, and that one of those was the Bears, and I don't remember what the Vikings were, but I know that was the Bears, because I was like, I don't necessarily think the Bears are going to be the worst team in the NFL, but at the time, we had the listing of the young team, and I was like, I do think that they are the young team that is going to not do well, that they are going to take a while, and they are too young to do well right now. And then we removed it, so I just tossed them into the bottom.
The NFC North is still the most dominant division in football. 5-0 Vikings, 4-1 Lions, Green Bay and Chicago Bears are both 4-2. I mean, like that's incredible. That division right now is cleaning house. Um, I don't. Is it possible for all 4 teams to go to the playoffs?
So
No.
I'm looking
Nope.
at. It's not possible, but
It's only 2. You have the division leader, and then you can get a wild card spot. That's why there was, I think it was last season or the season before, there was a team in the AFC that was like, they had like 11 or 12 wins, and they didn't make it to the playoffs because it was all the 3 teams in their division. They were the 3rd best team. And so the first spot went to the playoffs, the second spot got the wild card, and then they didn't make it to the playoffs.
I thought there were, is there 2? I thought there were 3 wild cards.
I mean, there is, but I don't think if another team has a better record than you're not going to get it.
Yeah, it comes down to tiebreakers.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying there's 3 wild cards. Is that correct?
Right,
Yeah.
but mathematically, unless all the teams in the division are X, Y, or Z, that the likelihood of 3 teams from the same division having
No, likelihood, I totally
because
understand.
they're playing. I mean, technically it's possible, but the problem is they face each other, and division record matters in playoffs.
Exactly. And so say, like, I don't remember the exact thing, but say the first in the division had 14 wins, second in the division had 13, and then third in the division had 11. Well, if the other divisions in the AFC, if a second person in that division, they might be second, they have 12 wins or 11 wins, they're tied at 11 wins. Well, they were more likely to get that wild card spot because they're probably going to have a better divisional record being second in their division than the third in their division. So it's just one of those where it was like a couple of years back. Somebody had a really good record in the AFC, but they were third in their division. They ended up not getting in the wild cards.
Yeah, I need to figure that out. If it's impossible or if it's just
It's not impossible.
unlikely.
Yeah, it's not impossible, but yeah, it's highly unlikely that it would be. You would need a lot of other teams to do very bad across your entire division.
Okay, can I talk about Drake May yet, please?
Oh yeah.
We spent 40 minutes talking about the Cowboys. I want to talk about the friggin' Patriots.
Fine.
Houston won by 20 points. Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. But Drake frickin' May, boys. Look out, NFL. The Patriots are back. They're going to be so fucking back.
Glad you have
May,
something to be excited about right now for the
Drake
Patriots.
May,
He'll be back in May.
dude, he is crazy. He's filthy. They should have started him week fucking 1, Jacoby Brissett, and they should have locked him in a fucking closet somewhere and left him alone, because Drake May's making plays. He's on his feet. He's moving the ball down the field. He threw for 3 touchdowns. Jacoby in one game.
And he also got a tackle.
Yeah, he's
2 interceptions also.
and 3 turnovers, but he threw 3 touchdowns.
Dude,
right? That's
I want to say real quick before you go on a spree about this. I just remember this one funny ass bit. I was watching the game. I was watching a replay on Red Zone, and Drake May threw on a go route. I think it was to Demario Douglas, and it hit him like right in the chest. And I just looked up at the Patriots staff, and they were like, "What the heck?"
Yeah,
they were just so
Jacoby
surprised.
Brissett
Like,
can't throw the ball to save his life.
wait, hold on. Did we just do that? Like, they were so surprised.
I thought we got rid of Brady.
Yeah, so luckily, the Patriots are headed to London this week, and they're facing off against Jacksonville. So I, for once, I'm actually going to take the Patriots to win pickups.
Fair enough.
And on the topic of pick'ems, can I get added back into the THF standings, because I'm pretty sure I'm beating all of you guys.
Okay, yeah, I'll go back in and get you added back into the. Yeah, because you're obviously
I think I missed by 1 pick 3 weeks in a row now. I missed winning.
Yeah, I mean, he's our number 1 fill-in spot right now for Dabs. So
yeah, I'll go back and I'll you have to remind me tomorrow. I'll try to get that added back in. Yeah, somebody else is asking me.
He's like, no, don't worry about it, dude. Actually, here's the numbers right here. I've already had the numbers right here. Here you go.
I'll get you.
I already counted for you, just in case.
I do want to shout out. I can't believe he's not here to rub the Cowboys in my face and to gloat about his Bills But we got to do a shout out for Seven this week. He only missed one game, and that was the Jacksonville-Chicago.
Which is crazy.
He took the London team. I can't fault him for that. But can you imagine?
I can't believe he was the only other person that took the Chargers with me, man. All y'all took Denver. Like, that was a surprise to me, dude.
Yeah, I mean the Chargers are pretty bottom of the barrel too. So and Denver, they just they show little flashes.
Yeah, I mean
they show little flashes.
You gotta Bo leave and Bo Nix, bro. He's going to figure it out.
You can't think about it.
You got a Nix Bo. You got a Nix Bo. Just nix him.
We got to move on. Is what we got to do. This all resulted in some great fantasy game matchups this week. Oh my god! Let me tell y'all real quick. You got to make sure you have alerts turned on your phone. It was like 45 minutes to game time when I found out that James Cook was not starting in the Buffalo the Monday night game, and had I not substituted one of the backups who scored 3.4 points, I would have lost this week because I did awful, and Cup Holder was right behind me with 108. So, like, note to self: make sure you have alerts on for your players through some app, because everything I read on Yahoo said that he was starting and he would be active for the game, and he did not start.
There's a injury report or something. I forget exactly what it's called, but it comes out at like 12 or 11:50 or 11:45 or something. It's like some finalized report. And I have an alarm set on my phone for like 5 minutes before that comes out, so that I can make sure I'm up and have the website pulled up. And as soon as the finalized report gets set out, I'll check it down the list to see if any of my people are on the list, and if I got to switch any people out beforehand.
I was still live playing Rocket Racing yesterday, and it was Underdog that I got the alert that James Cook was officially out for Monday Night Football, and I was like, "What? No!" So yeah, I was. That was, and then I picked up the wrong guy. I should have picked up the other guy who had like 100 yards from scrimmage at half. Instead, I picked up the guy that scored 3.4. Yeah, Davis.
I mean, it's not your fault. I mean,
everybody was saying the other guy was the guy to get.
You never know how they're going to run the game plan last second, and it just ended up being him. So I guess they think he's better. I guess he proved he's better.
Listen to what happened to me. It's a very similar situation where my team did not perform very well. My matchup in one of my other leagues, I took Dalton Kincaid very high. I think I took him 5th round because going into the season, I thought that Kincaid was going to get the most targets on the Bills. Instead, they just took a bunch of guys off the streets in Buffalo and Josh Allen using the power of friendship and just targeting everybody.
Power of friendship.
So I had Kincaid and my opponent had Dawson Knox. So both of our tight end slots were.
You're thinking I got this on lock, man. I got the starter. That's pretty much how you're.
Part of the blame is me leaving Baker Mayfield on my bench with 30 points, but first touchdown of the season for Dawson Knox, and I lost by 4 points. So
that's a rough
that wasn't
one.
very fun, but
that's a rough one.
I stayed far away from the Bills receiver core.
Now that Amari Cooper's coming in there, that's a big trade.
Yeah, now he's going to be the main target there, and they kind of need it.
Come in there and fucking kill
they can't act like that. They don't need Diggs, man. They needed Diggs, unless they're going to make Keon Coleman the next guy there, but they haven't.
I will say, if you're looking at it fantasy-wise, they need Diggs. If you're looking at it as a team like Josh Allen-wise, to quarterback-wise, I don't think Josh Allen has shown that he needed Diggs. Josh Allen's kind of still killed
the first games, but not when they go against actually decent. Because the first two games the first 2 games were super hype. Kind of like my point was with Cooks. It was like with him, in the last couple of games, he's barely gotten any fantasy points. But in the first 2 games or whatever, maybe 3, he was popping the hell off. It was because they're going against shitty teams and they're using them that way. But it's so hard when you have a rushing quarterback. And with the way that their offense is, it's like none of the receivers are getting any action now. They're playing against decent teams. So it's kind of worrying about the Bills. Not that they're terrible. They're not a bad team. But now they're starting to lose. And when they're down and going against good teams, you see that production start going down, at least for fantasy. It's kind of worrying. I feel like with a guy like Amari Cooper there, I think that offense is going to change a whole lot. I think it's going to be a lot better for him.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of people not calling for Amari Cooper to come back to Dallas because, you know, kind of like like when he came to Dallas the first time, they were struggling, and the second he stepped onto the roster, the offense exploded. And speaking of Amari Cooper in this trade, because that's one of the other things that happened this weekend in the aftermath of this crazy week in the NFL, was those 2 trades that were massive. I'm trying to get the there it is. Sorry. Yeah, the aftermath of this week was the 2 trades. The obvious one was Devante Adams going to the Jets. I mean, literally everybody except for 7 knew that was happening. That was written on the wall for weeks now that Devante Adams was going to the Jets. But Amari Cooper to Buffalo, what is crazy, and what's even more crazy is Cleveland got more out of Amari Cooper than Dallas did when Dallas traded him to Cleveland years ago. It's like Dallas gave him away, and freaking Cleveland just traded him to the Buffalo and got more out of him.
For a third-round pick.
It's like, oh man, it's just like the hits just kept coming today. But yeah, crazy addition to Buffalo. I think the Bills are trending way back up now.
Amari Cooper is a top 10 wide receiver when he has a quarterback that can actually throw to him. We've seen it 2 years back. We saw his production when Flacco was throwing to him. Amari Cooper is older, but he's still that guy. And if he can remain healthy for the Bills, he's going to be, honestly, probably a really good wide receiver rest of the season. And that's the only thing that's been holding him back. Same thing with Njoku. I kind of feel bad for all the, big targets on the Browns, I guess, besides the running backs, because they don't get, use like they would in other offenses. Like Njoku and Cooper are actually really freaking good. Deshaun Watson's just trash.
That kind of happens to a lot of players, though, dude. There's a lot of people out there that are on really good, talented people that just have a trashy quarterback that's throwing to them.
Yeah.
Or a really, really good quarterback that have trashy wide receivers that he's trying to throw to.
Yeah, you can't even, from a fantasy perspective, you can't even count on anybody to step up and take Cooper's place, because there's not anybody behind him with the amount of talent that Cooper had, and it's still Deshaun Watson throwing the ball. So
yeah,
you're as far as fantasy goes, you're hands off on Cleveland. They're all trending down.
Yeah, their offense is cooked.
And it's like somebody's got to get those targets, but you have Watson. Yeah, we have Watson throwing to them though, so it doesn't mean they're going to catch those targets.
Yeah, what happens to those targets?
Somebody's got to have those.
They're
balls
incomplete
at them.
Yeah,
it doesn't
those targets are incomplete.
Nick Chubb will be back at some point.
The only one catching those targets is the stats.
Honestly, something that people haven't really talked about much, I feel like, is compared to Diggs being that diva star over there, Cooper is kind of like the opposite. He's very cool-headed. He's very calm. He's got, that leader demeanor. Yeah. You should get along with Allen pretty good.
Yeah.
It was what made him get overshadowed in the Cowboys offense, and what helped him kind of shine in the Browns offense. In the Browns offense, they needed that wide receiver leader that was kind of the older guy that could say, yeah, no, it's cool if I don't get 15 fucking targets a game and a catch or a touchdown every single week. I'm just happy to get wins. But he still got them. And then on the Cowboys, he sat there and said, nah, it's fine if I don't get 15 targets every single week and a touchdown every single week. It's fine. I just want the win. So the Cowboys said, okay, we'll throw you the ball twice a week. And he was just sitting there going, okay, I mean, we're winning, so it's fine, I guess. And the Cowboys go, okay, then we'll throw you 2 times this week, too. It really sucks.
Yeah, and I don't think having Cooper really on our team right now is going to make that much of a difference. Like, don't get me wrong, we would be better with Cooper, but it's like the problems are a lot steeper than just having another good wide receiver on the team. We can't even connect with CD, so
the second, not to, because I do not want to get back to that game. The second time in 2 weeks that Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, he threw a ball at CeeDee Lamb and they completely misunderstood what the play was. CeeDee Lamb was running down the field and Dak Prescott threw it like 5-10 yards behind CeeDee Lamb, expecting the comeback route. And CeeDee Lamb was doing the go route down the fucking field. The second time that's happened in 2 games. That's insane.
And so with the Devante Adams thing, I'll just talk about, at least for fantasy perspective, like, honestly, it's kind of worrying if I'm thinking about me holding him, just because they still have Garrett Wilson and they just finally started actually targeting Garrett Wilson a lot more for fantasy. And I think that with them having that connection already, Devante Adams, obviously, I don't think he's going to be bad on the offense, but with how many good wide receivers and running backs that they have, it's kind of feeling like a knockoff version of the 49ers offense, because they have so many people that are that good that for fantasy, I feel like the points can be kind of spread. Like 1 week you could see Garrett Wilson popping off a lot, 1 week Devante Adams and stuff like that, and then they'll have those weeks with Lazard kind of pulling more of the weight. So I don't really know how to feel about that.
I don't think Lazard's going to go forward pulling much of the weight. I think what's going to happen is Devante Adams is going to get a lot of targets, and Watson is going to make
Lazard.
Wilson is going to have the big plays.
Yeah. So as a Garrett Wilson manager, I'm a little concerned. There is a strong possibility, however, that Devante Adams is just mid for the rest of the season. He's a little banged up. I don't care what anyone says. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. He looks good on the surface, but deep down he's kind of mid. What can we do?
He's past his prime.
And
he's doing the Brett Favre thing right now.
But the
problem, amazing. And then
the problem I have with Adams going to the Jets is now we're running into kind of like a too many cooks in the kitchen scenario. You have Lazard, you have Wilson, you have Mike Williams. Now you have Devante Adams. Plus you still have
the run game.
Oh, I forgot about Mike Williams.
The run game is still nails. The run game is still nails. They have two. They have 2 absolute top tier running backs. Breece Hall and Braylon Allen are really good. Braylon Allen will be a RB1 on most teams.
Yeah.
But
thanks.
Yeah, there's so many targets. How does he spread them about evenly? So again, I sold out for Wilson in 2 of my leagues. I kept him in our league, and I drafted him highly in another league. If he goes down from 20 plus points a game to just 10 plus points a game, that's a significant setback for someone like me, who he's one of my top performers on my team. If Adams is going to take all that, then it's kind of a shitty situation fantasy wise. I mean, obviously the Jets are going to be better for having 2 top tier
And I don't mean to make you feel like doom and gloom, but my honest opinion, they didn't pick him up for nothing. They're going to try and hard focus him, especially with Aaron Rodgers' mentality on the passing game. He's just going to be like, yep, this is my guy. I'm hitting him a lot. And that's not going to leave less room for Garrett Wilson.
That's what I'm telling you. That's why I say he's going to get the bulk of the targets.
Unless it's so I think it depends on the matchup as well. But as far as like the target share, it's definitely going to lean. I agree, it's going to lean his way for sure. But I don't know. It's hard to tell. If you think Aaron Rodgers is washed is one thing, or if you think that the whole time really was the coach and you just needed Devante Adams back, then that's a different thing. But I don't know. That offense is confusing.
I like Brady going to Tampa and taking a bunch of his friends with him.
Because even though they've looked bad, they did almost win against the Vikings. I knew it was kind of like a comeback at the end or whatever. The Vikings were winning the whole time, but that defense is really good, and they put up the points against them. So I don't know. And then they've had some weeks where they just look completely terrible, bad, like against the Broncos game. It's like, what the hell is that?
I tell you, in my other league, I benched Rodgers this week and picked up Flacco. And I was actually surprised to find out that Rodgers, I mean, he didn't light it up or anything, but he actually outscored Flacco by a couple points. So I was like, damn, well, never mind.
Speaking of waiver wire pickups for quarterbacks, I'm going to say it because it doesn't matter to me.
Drake May.
Yeah, I'm taking Drake May. He was he had an excellent. Even with 3 turnovers, he was an excellent fantasy pickup this week. He was 20+ points. Better than CJ. He was better quarterback wise.
Don't you say it? Don't you freaking say
it? He was better than CJ Stroud.
No. He was. Ain't gonna go there.
Points wise, he was, but obviously, there's the intangibles there. We're talking fantasy only here, but yeah.
Well, first game is a lot different. He's been in the back a little bit learning for a couple weeks, but
he's gonna ball the fuck out against Jacksonville. Let's be honest.
Let's start heading towards the doors here, fellas. But this is next week's pick'ems. Pick a game. What is the one game you're excited for on this slate next week, and why is it exciting for you?
I'll go last because you guys have no idea who I'm going to pick here.
So it's not New England, Jacksonville.
I'll go last. You guys go. Me
personally, the one game that I'm actually really looking forward to seeing this week, and then a side game. The one game I'm really looking forward to watching this week is Detroit versus Minnesota. I want to see if Minnesota 5-0 can hold up against Detroit. I think, I felt like the Cowboys game was going to be a slugfest with Detroit. I feel like this is not going to be a slugfest. It's going to be a battle of the defenses in the Detroit Vikings game. As much as I have to do it because it's Justin Jefferson, and you don't bench Justin Jefferson, I kind of almost want to bench Justin Jefferson in this game. I feel like this might not be a great game for offense. Exactly. Obviously, you don't. I'm just saying. I don't feel like this is going to be good offensive game for either team. I really don't. I really feel like it. And then the side game that I feel like that's my opinion. It might be. You never know.
I mean, the overs hit in basically both teams for every game that both teams play in.
Honestly, I kind of have.
Dude, I'm going to be starting a couple of them.
I have an opposite opinion about that game. Honestly, I think it might be reversed. I think it could be a really high scoring game because it's going to be a proving game for Sam Darnold. I don't.
These are hot takes on the game, okay, assholes.
I respect your opinion. I respect your opinion because I think it makes sense. But I don't agree with it. I think that it's going to be
every game they play. I don't know.
It's going to be a good scoring game. Minnesota has got the offense there to kick it, and Detroit's going to bring the heat right back. So I think it's going to force Minnesota to chunk the ball down a little bit more. And who's that guy? Justin Jefferson. So I think they're going to be throwing it back and forth a lot, and it's really going to be kind of a prove it game for Sam Darnold because we just saw freaking Detroit did the Cowboys last week. But my game I'm looking forward to is going to be that Baltimore and Tampa Bay game. That's going to be a freaking sick game, man. I'm
That
looking
was my
forward to
side
that
note
game.
My secondary game that I thought was gonna the opposite of mine, the high scoring game. I was like, my side note game. That's my Baltimore Tampa Bay. I think that's gonna be a badass game too. Anyway,
And not going to lie, I kind of am looking forward to the New England and Jacksonville game too. It's kind of like it might be kind of a boring game, but just because I'm so interested on like where they could be going, kind of want to see New England in that game. And my last note is the Houston and Green Bay game. We got two young quarterbacks facing off against each other. That's a good matchup for both of them. Both playoff comparable teams. You know, they both have pretty high upsides on offense. It could be a pretty high scoring game. So I expect to see a lot of highlights from that game. I think it's going to be pretty good.
I agree with I think the Detroit and Minnesota game is going to be the game of the week. But that Sunday night matchup with Baltimore and Tampa Bay is looking pretty sick too. So those are good ones. Take note also, we got Kansas City versus San.
oh,
Uh-oh.
Wacko we lost Wacko.
Leaving us in suspense.
As he was
What?
saying, the Kansas City, San Francisco.
Mahomes, and then
You're in the middle of taking out your glaze and covering Mahomes with it. We can see you and hear you now.
What?
You froze up, buddy.
Your whole stream froze up there for a minute. You're good though. We can hear you now.
Okay.
Right as you started talking about Kansas City, San Francisco, you just froze. Stop talking.
Oh, okay. Right on. Well, yeah. That's that Super Bowl matchup once again. So that one's obviously going to get a lot of attention. So there's that.
all right.
So Houston Green Bay is going to be a really good game. You have two of the top performing fantasy quarterbacks going up against each other. Houston is obviously they're one of the best defenses in the league too. I think that's another game that's going to be high scoring. But obviously for me, New England Jacksonville is the game to watch. I'm going to get up bright and early on my day off Sunday and watch this game through and through. What Drake May did against one of the best defenses in the league, I can only imagine what he's going to do against one of arguably the worst.
I'm going to take a crazy bet on that game, just on a $5 one, but I'm going to take a crazy bet with a bunch of easy under overs, and then I'm going to put Drake May way over on passing yards. Like, I'm talking about as high as I can get it over, because with Jacksonville, especially against shitty teams that can compare on offense, it's high scoring. And if Drake May really is what we think he might be able to be, underdog has no choice but to put his passing yards kind of mid, because he's only played one game this season. Yeah. So honestly,
if it's under 200, you need to hammer that over.
No. Right now, Prize Picks has Drake May, I think like 180 or something like that.
Yeah, so if you take that over by a lot, I'm
pretty sure, by the way, I already, he's already talking about, I have a bet right now on Prize Picks with Drake May on it. What's my lineup for fast? Yeah.
Like, I could see myself taking Tank Bigsby over on rushing yards on an easy one, taking Brian Thomas over an easy one, DeMar.
You're okay against the run.
So I got Alvin Kamara. This is one of my bets. Alvin Kamara over on 19.5 receiving yards. Drake May over on 185.5 passing yards. Easy. Spencer Radler over on 183.5 passing yards. And Devon Vale over on 33.5 receiving yards.
I need to look at see on underdog.
Go ahead and change the screen.
Actually,
awful.
Mr. Aubrey. Wacko was like, every one of us felt this. Hey, Aubrey's golden boy self did not.
Yeah, Brian Thomas is some bullshit, bro, because he's been going way over that every single freaking game. And I finally bet on him some dumb morning game, and he doesn't hit it. It's like, what the hell, Jacksonville?
Mine also hits the David Montgomery anytime touchdown, because death taxes and David Montgomery scoring a touchdown.
But just before we get to the best, one thing I did want to say, I think a game that is actually going to be an upset game. I don't know who's all going to be picking Denver, but I think Denver's actually going to beat New Orleans this week.
I do too.
And especially because Chris Olave might be out this game. And so
Oh, yeah.
if Olave's out, then yeah,
I
think
like
Nixon's
Rattler.
And
Go
Carr's
ahead.
still out, right?
I
Yeah,
think so.
Yeah,
I think
Carson
Rattler's
likely out for the
decent
season.
though.
Yeah,
Rattler is actually like
that's why, no, I took him over on passing yards. I did. He's not bad.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is not an easy team, and they did that, and they still have Shaheed. Shaheed's great for deep ball passes. They still got Kamara.
I don't think New Orleans is gonna be able to do it.
Fair enough.
Kamara, the offense runs through Kamara, so that's definitely.
And watch out for Bub Means. My boy Bub Means out there gonna be wide receiver too. Let's go, Bub Means, bro.
This is like a Devon Veely, whatever. I call him Devon Veely. Denver's like number 2 or 3 wide receiver. They got him at over 33.5 yards right now.
I swear to God, Janu, every week he mentions somebody that I've never even heard of.
Shout out to my boy Bub Means. Just watch him on the next game, you'll see him, and maybe his little brher Bub Means Jr.
Like, you think, man, I didn't know about Spencer Rattler already, dude? I've had this bet since like freaking yesterday with Spencer Rattler. As soon as these bets came in,
shit,
I was
bro.
like, dude, 183 on Spencer Rattler? Yeah, dude, I'm taking that easily.
That's a risky one too. That's a big balls pick right there because he could have easily just shit the bed and not hit that.
So obviously our primetime parlay didn't do so well last week. So hopefully we can get back on track this week. Do you guys want to put in your pick?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Bub Means over on receiving yards.
Bud?
Bub.
What's his name? Bub?
Bub. I doubt that it's updated. Yeah, it only has a touchdown for him. But listen, last week with Spencer Rattler, you got to think about it. These quarterbacks, these backups practice with the other backups in the background. So now that they don't have Olave, Mr. Bub Means is up there. He got 8 targets last week. So his bets, I'm going to have to update it when we come back, but his bets are probably going to be low for over on receiving yards or reception. So I'm going to take either one of those, but I have nothing to look at right now. I'm going to take that over on Denver, and I think they're going to freaking crush it. But all right.
All right. I'm going to be taking, not to go off on the random like side note thing too, but I'm going to be taking Rattler over on passing yards. Spencer Rattler. I'm going to take Spencer Rattler over on passing. I think he's going to, like I said, I don't think New Orleans is going to win that game. I think Denver's going to win it. But I think because Denver's going to win that game, it's going to force New Orleans into a passing situation late in the game. And I think he's easily going to go over 200 yards in that game.
And I like betting on people that haven't played a lot of football because they can't rig it as much. Yeah.
Yep.
They don't have any good stat projections for him yet, so they just kind of have to put something out there.
Like if Mahomes goes out there and they have him at 265 yards or something like that on the day, that's because on the entire season Mahomes has averaged 266 yards. So they have him at 265. If you had Spencer Rattler that's gone out there and played one time and thrown for 215 yards, they're going to have him at like 180 because they don't know if they put him at 260, that's an easy.
They don't have an average, so they're not. If he threw for 288 last week, they're not going to put it at 288 because then you can easily hit the under. So yeah.
They have to keep him kind of low for a couple of weeks to figure out what his stat line is before they can move him around.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about the Drake May pick. If you want to take over on that by a lot, like do over like 260 yards on him, it's not impossible if he ends up being a good quarterback against Jacksonville.
I don't think it'll be that many, but if you can get over 220, for example, take that for sure.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Degen $5 pick on him. I'm going all the way freaking over on
all the way May,
and all the May.
I, however, am going to stay out of the realm of obscurity. I'm going for the top, baby.
CeeDee Lamb,
the game of the week.
CeeDee Lamb bye-week touchdown.
Yeah, bye-week. This will be the week. No, I really do think that the Detroit Minnesota game is going to be a slugfest on offense, and I think Justin Jefferson's going to have a heyday. So they've only got him at 87.5 on underdog at the moment, and I'm going to say he smashes that. So I think that's an easy pick for me. I think Detroit has got enough talent to where even though Minnesota's defense is really good, I think they're still going to score points. Maybe it's not 50 like they put up last week, but they're going to still they're going to still score, and Minnesota's going to have to score to keep up.
Do you think about taking the Justin Jefferson TD? Because it's going to be like a .80 probably. Like, we're going to get less from that pick, but I think the Bub Means and Rattler one are going to put it up a little bit more too, since they're kind of newer picks. So I don't know, just something to look at.
And to be fair too, with Justin Jefferson, every single week this season, except the week against the Jets right before the bye week, he scored a touchdown. He's got a touchdown first, second, third, fourth week, and then fifth week he got 92 yards but no touchdown.
All right, so I have a question for you guys. Obviously, I make a pick every week, and it's an unofficial pick to go towards this. Why don't you guys fucking hammer the Derrick Henry touchdown?
I took it last week.
I'd do on my own bets. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been I'm gonna get to this in my extra point, but like, it seems like it's like CMC on that 13-game streak last year. This is a bet that you put in every single parlay until it misses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, we kind of caught on to it a little bit.
Yeah, I've been taking a lot of the Derrick Henry over on anytime touchdown and the Derrick Henry over on yards, because whether he gets it first half or second half, Derrick Henry is going to have at least one 50 or 60-yard rush. He's going to have a touchdown, and he's going to most likely go over 100 yards every single game. Like, and they usually have him at like 70 to 80 yards rushing. Dude, there's plenty of times where he'll get that damn near in one rush.
Yeah,
like, yeah. Every week so far, I've been taking bets with Derrick Henry over on rushing yards or on touchdowns. Yeah, he's been fucking killing it.
Yeah, it's a good point. So,
for sure,
we could add that to the parlay.
Anyway, that's my pick of the week is Derrick Henry over half a touchdown. So, anyone that's playing along at home,
Derrick Henry absolutely. Over on everything.
Yeah.
Over on TDs.
Dude, 1 week I'm going to hit a pick with Justice Hill again over 80 rush receiving yards, just like on that last week. There's going to be a week, maybe against Tampa Bay, because if you hit that, it's like the payout is freaking insane for like even if you throw like $2 or $3 on something like that. So it's one of the ones to look at, because Justice Hill is a big factor on that offense. But every single week in the past weeks, it's like, okay, well, Zay Flowers goes off on this one, Derrick Henry goes off on this one. You know, it's kind of like different people. Justice Hill might be able to hit that on one. I might be this week. I don't know. These are good picks, by the way, only if you're wanting to hit like a crazy payout, not a consistent one.
Yeah.
Yeah, not every. All right, so last thing, obviously, we've got Monday Night Football squares. Again, we didn't have any takers last week, so we didn't do a board, but we do have that available for what is this Monday night game coming up? It's the Chargers and the second. We always do the second one, the prime time or the regular. Because I think the what is it, Baltimore Tampa?
That's a good game. You kind of
we have Monday Ravens versus Baltimore at 7:15, and then 8:00 is the Chargers versus Cardinals.
Nope. Yeah. Nope. You don't have the Ravens versus Baltimore. That's
the Ravens versus the Buccaneers. Ravens versus Baltimore. Ravens versus Buccaneers at 7:15. Chargers versus Cardinals at 8. So the
at least they didn't spend 5 minutes talking about a game that happened last week. Oh,
listen,
geez.
I do not promote illegal drugs. Okay.
Also, the Chargers Arizona game is on at 9 p.m. Eastern. Like, what the dude? Like, some of us have to work in the morning. Like, what the fuck are you? What are they doing?
At least it's not starting at like 10 p.m. Eastern.
It's a late game.
Now, to be fair, who on the East Coast is watching? Who on the East Coast is watching the Chargers in Arizona?
I will not be. I'll be watching Tampa.
Yeah, so
Tampa, Baltimore, because that is the game to watch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What do you guys think about the dual Monday night games?
I don't mind him, but I get why people don't like him.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I feel like I'm just missing an extra game.
Like, do you? I mean, you can't watch every game every week anyway. So, like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can switch back and forth. You can.
To put it like, okay, I'm a creature of habit. You know, that's.
I don't like change.
Exactly. So Thursdays are for Thursday night football. Monday is for Monday night football. Sunday is for having 9 games across my computer monitor at one time with the NFL Red Zone and Sunday Ticket.
Yeah,
I love the Red Zone.
Fantasy football scoreboard and everything else up. That's what Sunday
football from 9:30 in the morning.
Sunday feels like being at
11:30. Exactly.
It feels like being at the casino, dude. It's just ding, bing, 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 just flashing, flashing.
That's for Monday night football for one game. That's where there's I got other shit going on. That's just Monday night. There's like Thursday. I don't want 2 Thursday night games. Thursday night football. It's not Monday night footballs.
I don't even like Thursday night football. I hate Thursday night football.
I don't really care for it either. But at least it's a football. That's not. It's a football. It's a football game. That's not on Monday. Exactly. Like at least we get some.
Jeez.
But
it's still talking about Friday night football,
You're on a good streak
right?
tonight, huh, bud?
I'm on a hot streak.
Yeah, put the Monday game and put it on Tuesday. Then we get
on
more
that Ravens versus Baltimore tonight.
Ravens versus Baltimore game for Wednesday night football is going to be great, guys.
Yeah.
Well, and then when college is out, when they're done, then we get we get Thursday night football on Saturday.
Yeah.
So the NFL they'd be 7 days a week if they could.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I kind of wish it was on Saturday instead of Thursday.
I wish they would do 7 days a week for football.
God,
yeah.
Do 2 or 3 football games a day across the NFL for 7 days.
I'd be on Underdog all day long.
All day, every day, dude.
Just like waiting for that freaking Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night,
Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night,
Sunday night.
Woo! We're finally back to Sunday night football, guys.
And it's spread today, hit it tomorrow. I'll hit the day after that one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I guess it's time to wrap this up. Does anybody have an extra point they'd love to?
I do.
Go ahead.
So we talked about Derrick Henry and how he's a lock anytime touchdown. Because he's such a lock with an anytime touchdown. So for those of us that are lucky enough to live in a legal sports gambling state, the odds are different for different players scoring touchdowns. Derrick Henry, he's been the biggest favorite across basically every sports betting market to score a touchdown, which means his odds to score a touchdown are like minus 275. Not great when you're trying to make money, especially on a single. Really, where the real money is lately for Derrick Henry is first touchdown or 2 touchdowns. So I didn't bet the 2 touchdowns, but I bet the first touchdown at plus 750. That's really low, all things considered. And plus 2 touchdowns right now is plus 300. That's not a lot. If you bet $1, that's only $3 that you win. He really is a touchdown scoring machine. If you're in a state where you can bet Derrick Henry to score a touchdown, basically any line that you want, whether it's 1 touchdown, whether it's first touchdown, whether it's 2 touchdowns, if depending on the sports book, you can parlay all of those together and it may still hit. So
yeah,
if you really want to jack your money up, take Derrick Henry scoring 2 touchdowns or take Derrick Henry scoring the first touchdown. It's a no-brainer because you're really not getting your money's worth betting anytime touchdown for him right now.
This is like verbatim the conversations that we had last season with CMC.
Not quite, because he was a lock for the anytime touchdown, but the odds were never like they are for Derrick Henry right now, and it didn't really juice. It juiced a lot to do to bet him for 2 touchdowns, but it wasn't. It was juiced, but not enough to like really focus on betting that. This season, where the odds are so high of him scoring an anytime touchdown that there's really no point in. I mean, you're winning money. You're winning money regardless. But if you really wanted to jack your winnings, you should absolutely be betting on the first touchdown or the 2+ touchdowns.
Or like longest rush. over on longest rush because he has those like breakout runs sometimes.
Yeah.
Where he goes like over on a lot, especially at the end of the game, like at that Washington game. But
well, depending on how you bet, if you're betting over on rushing and on an anytime touchdown, he could hit that in one shot.
Yeah,
he had that 80-something yard touchdown run.
He does that a lot too.
So I mean that's two legs of the parlay right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
my extra point is I'm going against Jason this week in his league, and he has 4 Cowboys players, so he's going to be missing a lot of people against me. So, yeah. So,
this is the week that I dreaded.
Yeah, he's missing CeeDee Lamb, Dak, Turpin, and Aubrey, I think it is. So,
well, I'm not really missing. I just picked up Tolbert.
Tolbert. That's who it is.
Just because I had an empty bench spot and he scored big the week before. He's not a starter on my team.
I would say, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was my extra point real fast is pay attention. If they change the kickoff rules in the NFL, then this might not matter as much. But with these new kickoff rules, we're only getting the ball out to the 20-25 yard line still, but it's forcing these kickers to actually return the yards. And a lot of fantasy leagues, kick returners have been kind of tossed to the side as nobodies because there hasn't been a massive amount of kick returns. You don't get a lot of kick returns. But now on average, if they take the ball out 25 yards, which is about average per kick return. If they take it out 25 yards and there's just 4 kick returns, that's 100 kick return yards right there. That's 10 points. And for a flex player, 10 points is all you need. So if he does literally nothing else in the entire game but take out 4 kick returns, that's it. He just got you 10 points in a flex spot. That's all you ever need. Now, if that same dude, that's why I picked up Turpin, because Turpin is our kick returner. And he luckily broke out one too, and he got like 190 something return yards this last game. But Devante Turpin, and as a special teams player, he's put up 17 points, 14 points, 11 points, and 20 points in 4 weeks. Out of all the games in 4 weeks, he's put up over 10 points and gotten to 20 points. So with this new kickoff rules, people should start looking a little bit more seriously at special teams players and maybe finding some people that have some potential to get some big ass points on their.
Now that's if your league does counts return yards for wide receivers.
Yes, make sure
the default is not, at least in Yahoo. That was something that we added years ago.
If you're in a league that runs kick return. Definitely look, because we've been running kick returners since we ran this career.
Yeah.
But
I've had it
this
for
year though.
a decade.
Yeah, they've never really been anything because at best you might get 80-90 yards max. Normally, somebody could potentially break a kick return for a touchdown, and then they would score big. But that was
it's
very
part of
rare.
the reason why Devin Hester was a valuable fantasy football player.
Cordell Patterson for a long time.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, Cordell Patterson.
He was returning kickoffs like crazy.
Yep. People would kick away from him because you did have some people that could get you big points. But for the most part, you didn't really get shit off kick returners. Yeah. But this season, with this new kickoff rule, kick returners are becoming, even if they do the bare minimum, they still have the possibility of getting you 10 points in the flex spot. So if you're in need of dude, so-and-so's injured, I can't pick up. That's what happened to me. Last minute, I needed to pick up on an injury spot. So I picked up Turpin, threw him in my flex spot. He got me 20 points.
My extra point, I got to ask the old man, Jerry. I know he doesn't want me to ask the question. I got to ask the question. Why, Jerry? Why did you not get Derrick Henry? Why? Are you kidding me? I cringe every single time I hear Derrick Henry's name doing something in a game right now. I can't stand the fact that we don't have Derrick Henry. Why, Jerry Jones? Why didn't you get him? I know I don't have a right to ask the question. I'm asking it anyway.
You're fired.
Never going on your podcast.
Damn it, man.
He will replace you. He's not kidding.
Yeah.
He will get somebody else to ask the questions.
We need the answer to this, like a real answer.
Really it is the biggest question mark I've since the free agency, dude. Since the offseason,
I'm straight up saying I wanted to go play for Dallas.
Yeah, Dude, Derrick Henry wanted to come play for us, and he got in his contract. He probably could have got less. He probably would have came to us for less. And with his current contract, dude, he's only making $5 million more a year than we're paying Ezekiel Elliott right now. You're telling me we couldn't free up $5 million to get Derrick Henry instead of Ezekiel Elliott?
To be fair, though, I mean, we've been talking about Baltimore being the ideal landing spot for Derrick Henry since last season.
Oh yeah,
before the trade deadline last season. I mean, you have thunder and lightning in Lamar and Derrick Henry in that backfield. You don't really have that same capacity in Dallas. You know, Lamar is basically he's a second running back. You know what I mean? But
if you look at how Dak played last season compared to where Derrick Henry would have went, I think that would have still been a good spot because last season Dak was at least playing West Coast, Lamar plays.
There was a lot of people saying that's where Derrick Henry was gonna come to Dallas mid-season last year. They were working on a trade that just never really panned out. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's much better for him to go with Lamar. Lamar's much better at it.
They never even gave me a call or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when they brought that up with Derrick Henry, they asked him about it. He flat out said, he's like, I don't know what to tell you. They never even called me. Let's just move on. I don't want to argue about it. They never even called me.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I feel like the Cowboys, the front office set up McCarthy to fail this year, and we're seeing it unfold.
Get rid of
live in living color.
Yep. Get out Jerry Jones.
All right, boys. Let's get out ourselves. How about that? Let's quickly pick somebody to raid into and get on out of here tonight.